Sponsor a child from the Dogon villages today. They are the future healers, leaders and preservers of Kemetic traditions. Just like Prophet Nebnaba, these children of the Earth Centre and our network of healers are being educated in local schools in addition to their indigenous cultural practices and traditions. This comprehensive education both positions them to inherit the work of their forefathers and mothers and continues bridging the gap between traditional and modern societies. So go ahead, support, find out more about our campaigns and donate by going to www.theearthcentre.org. Thank you.
Uchahi, and welcome once again to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And I am your host, Hipsa Nesebik, alongside.
Uchahi, everyone. It's Kasati Hekama.
yeah, and we would just like to acknowledge all the listeners for tuning in, and we wish you all good health and prosperity in these trial days that we have ahead of us. And we're going to move on by first acknowledging the divine world, the ones who created the existence, and for the ancestors whose shoulders we stand on, those who are the intermediate between this dimension and the next. That's where we're trying to reach. So we also want to kind of acknowledge Nebnaba Lumusa Morendenebig, the Kemetic Dogon High Priest, and Master Neba, as we call him. He is the founder of the Earth Center, and he first established the Earth Center in 1996. The first headquarters was in Chicago, USA, and from there the school kind of evolved. He established, I think, 3 schools while he was still here, and the work continued with Naba Irita, his son, who has grown the school to what it is now. So we presently have about 6 schools in the USA, and 2 in Canada, 2 in America, and 2 now in the UK. Us here in London Temple. Now we have to give credit to Master Naba because he had the insight really to see, what was happening in the world, and he had this love for humanity and see the direction and everything that the world is going towards. Master Naba sought permission from his elders, from the kingship, from the hierarchies and the divinities, and they granted him permission to share this knowledge with us in the West. And we as initiates who are getting the knowledge, who've been given the knowledge, have that appreciation for what we've been given. So we acknowledge, his energy and for what he's given us, really. And as I said, for Naba Edita for continuing the work, because it's a hard battle for what they're giving us. It's not easy, and there's a lot of challenges there. And we're grateful, as we said. Now the Earth Center has got 3 branches to it. There's the Firefly. You gonna read that? Do the Firefly section?
Yeah, okay. Okay, as Nahibsa said, in acknowledgement of the ancestors, the divinities and the Makaru, welcome yourselves. The Earth Center has 3 branches, one being the Firefly Productions. Firefly Production is the publishing house of the organization that disseminates all the written material that's been given to us by Nebnabala Musa Morendenebig. So in that you'll find them on the website. So the websites are www.theearthcenter.org and www.theearthcenteruk.com. Center is spelled CENTER. So on those websites, if you go to the shop, you'll see the list of products that are available to purchase. The Philosophy Podium is one of the books there available, and that's one of the only books written by a Dogon High Priest about Dogon philosophy and spirituality. That's written by Nebnabala Musa Morendenebig. You'll also find the Book of Purifications, which is a book that consists of Kemetic prayers and rituals in order for one to cleanse themselves, purify themselves spiritually, and also how to purify particular objects in your home as well. It contains the Kemetic prayers and the the ways in which one would do the Kemetic ablutions. These scientific and specific ways in which one does that, and it contains the prayers, the ancient prayers of our ancestors. That book is written by Neb Nabala Musa and Naba Irita. Also from Firefly Productions, you'll find the 77 Commandments. That is the code of human behavior. And it's from the 77 Commandments that some certain religions have devised 10 commandments from. The 77, the original set of commandments that were given to humanity for us to develop ourselves and move ourselves away from barbarism and to raise our spiritual qualities. It's from that initiates live their lives by. So that's a poster on the shop that you can purchase. Also, there is the mandala of Dendera, which is one of the oldest constellations of the universe, of the cosmos. And you've got the Hejpatar, which is a book of initiatic tales, ancient tales from the campfires and of initiatic camps. What else do I have on the? There's the DVDs. I did
the code of human behavior.
yeah, I did.
Most important.
I just said that. You mustn't fall asleep. Yeah, so there's DVDs from Nebnaba. There's CDs, T-shirts. So that's the publishing house of the organisation, Firefly Productions. The next branch of the Earth Centre is the Umtam School. The Umtam School is where we go for initiation, and it's in that the 3 topics that are available to study through initiation is the Sunt class, which is the healing class, where one learns how to look at the body traditionally, from a traditional perspective, how to diagnose ailments within the body. In that class as well, we learned one of the divination tools of humanity, which is the Umtam science, which is the earth energy readings. It's from that all other divination systems came from Ifa to I Ching, Tarot, and what else do we learn in Sunt? Yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. So it's about traditional perspectives of how we look at the body and diagnose ailments and treat the body through herbs. Then we have the other class to study is the Medu class, which is a cornerstone of initiation. So Medu is the original language of humanity, which the Greeks called hieroglyphs, which meant holy writings. So they knew the power of the writings that they came across, and with the Medu language we learn the culture, we learn how to read, write and speak Medu, and we learn about the culture that goes with the language. Then we have the Katibi class, which is the spiritual side of the study, where we learn the ancient prayers. We learn now to purify ourselves, the ablutions. As I said, it's a scientific technique, so it's quite a lot of training in regards to that. We learn the cosmogony of our ancestors in the Katibi class, and we also learn the postures, the movements from which the East have derived yoga from. So in a nutshell, that is what's offered throughout initiation from the Earth Centre. And as I said, the website's www.theearthcentre.org and www.theearthcentreuk.com. Telephone number for the London school is... Oh, excuse me, I forgot the third branch of the organisation. POM, Projects of Merita. Projects of Merita is the branch that deals with sustainable living on the land. So It's a part of the organization that deals with sustainable living, building wells, new wells, actually repairing old wells, building the temples, the Het Aishat Healing Temple, and providing, growing, and harvesting the herbs that we use for the healing. Yeah, so for more information about the Earth Centre and the branches that I've just mentioned, if you go onto the website. To contact us via email for the London and Coventry School, it's enquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org. Telephone number for the London branch is 0208 558 3678. And for the Coventry branch, it's 024 76266859. You'll find us also on social media, Facebook and Instagram, the Earth Centre of UK, and on Instagram you will find us on Kebtah, Kebtah, and the Earth Centre of UK. Also on Facebook you'll find us as the Earth Centre, and then there's the Earth Centre Coventry, there's the Earth Centre Montreal. So yeah, you'll find us all on social media. Do our own, Mr.
Okay, and we just want to kind of just keep you in a time check of where you are in time and space. And say today is like the 16th of Mahet, sorry. 421 of the Kemetic Siddele Calendar, and it's the 23rd today of Feb 2022 in the Gregorian calendar. So this month is actually governed by the god Eru, and Eru was a god born from Aisha and Wusa. Now Eru is a warrior, like who fought or fight Set, the god who kind of killed who killed Wusa. And like he was a protector of gods and humans, because Eru was like premature at birth and fragile. We can, as humans, we can kind of identify with that aspect of him. Now, those who fight for justice and kind of say that righting of wrongs are living in the image of Eru, and we're all like say born as Eru on this earth here, and we're in that constant battle, against Set. So we are fragile, and our challenges really, just like his challenges, the battle is still going on, and that battle is still going on for us here now. So that month, there are taboos that comes with that month, things that you shouldn't eat or kill, and that's the deer, the vulture, the cobra, orc, catfish, and the sacred boar. So each month carries its own taboos of like what we shouldn't kill or eat, relating to the month that we're born under, and even our bloodlines, they carry taboos as well. So on that note, we're gonna play you this interlude of music. It's Jimmy Cliff, and it's My Ancestors.
My ancestors were kings of old. They ruled the world and all of its gold. But look at me. Oh, look at me. Just look at me. My ancestors would fight the sun before they bow down. I've got to work and pass it on to my son, and he will be a man. Oh yeah, and pass it on to his son, and he will be a man. Oh yes, he will. My son will be a man.
Yeah, welcome back once again. And we're just going to introduce our topic. Our topic for tonight is going to be the importance of knowing who you are. And I think it was actually Kasati here really like had an inspiration, or what was it that triggered off this topic? See the confusion out there, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion out there and miseducation of our people. Miseducation by our people to our youth. And it's very dangerous, some of the knowledge that's being put out there to our children. And it's inspired me to do this show,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, as you say, really, some of us are still so confused, really, as to the who am I, and I mean, for me, that was one of the questions I used to ask myself was, who am I? And that's what brought me to the Earth Center, and that's helping me to try to find myself. As we know, finding yourself, but we've still got to go through changing of self as well, so that's the next stage. And as I said, find out who am I and where to fit into the society and the environment that we find ourselves in. And again, we see by displacement where a lot of us are struggling really, right, to ground ourselves. Now, it's so important really knowing who you are, and what you stand for in life. Because if you stand for nothing, then you could be misguided into any direction. So it would help to give you like a strong sense of who you are, self-confidence really, because then you can stand firm and give you that sense of belonging. Because everyone has to identify or belong somewhere, to a family, to a community, to a nation. So we've all got to be connected to something, just like how we're connected to the earth. Some of us, when we say some of us, we're looking at the Western world really, who wants to disconnect themselves from the earth, which is kind of a crazy attempt really, yeah, but they'll keep trying. Yeah, even to the detriment really, like, of our destruction. And that was the reason why Master Naba realized and saw that he had to come in and try to change the mentality and the mindset, of the individual, because it's about self. And if we all come here really, right, to try to fulfill a destiny, which, as we said, it comes with its own challenges. And if we're left really, right, to focus on what we come here to achieve, then perhaps the journey to fulfilling it will be a lot easier. But because most of us don't know self, then society has become that destructive, that has taken us away. So if we were allowed to say probably, get that assistance to know who we are, we know when we come into the earth, we have that destiny. But if the parents don't know, into the day side, because we've lost our culture, certain values and things like that, then we're kind of lost. It's like the blind leading the blind. Hence, this is why we're in the position that we're in now. So, knowing of self, most of us probably just know ourselves in a relatively kind of a way, where we see the physical aspect of ourselves, but don't really know what we would call like the true self, the I and I within yourself, and that relative part of yourself is the part of you that's constantly changing, and that's the part that society manipulates, Yeah, because it's just like you're growing, you're constantly evolving, you're growing, you're getting old. You can change your hair, the color of your hair. You can change many aspects of yourself. Times is changing, but you, that that spiritual essence within you, is there. It's permanent. It's always there. And within the invasion, when the invaders came in, they saw that we were spiritual people in the sense, really. So that side of us was what they broke down to kind of to basically enslave the people then who were here, to kind of help to navigate them through this world. So you are your true self, as we say, is permanent, yeah, and we're there all the time. So it's things around us that keep changing. You see the world changing around us, and this is where society manipulates us, yeah, because that word ambition, yeah, we become ambitious to the respect, right? That, as I said, because we don't know self, we're easily manipulated, and false, it, yeah, false ideologies, religions, and all these different other kind of distractions are put in front, really, right, to divide and control us. And so that's the strategy that society is actually using out there, really, to play on that side of us, of not knowing who we are. And this is why the Earth Center is so crucial to us, organizations such as, these indigenous ones who have preserved this knowledge for thousands of years, and it's given us the opportunity to kind of define self through Kemetic ancient teaching. And so Kasati is going to read to you from the Ejpata, one of the stories written by Master Nabade. And I think this story is so profound, really, that if you meditate on it and actually see what's written there, it's so powerful and relevant, really, right, to the timeline of the indigenous African people, really, who were enslaved, in chattel slavery to where we are now, in neo-colonialism. So you're gonna read that.
Yes, okay, so this is from the Hejpata, Initiatic Tales of Hejpata, can be found on the website. And this chapter, this story is called Real Eagles, Chick Eagles and Chicks. The conflict between the identity we create and the one nature gives us. Throughout the world, there are stories or anecdotes describing individuals who find themselves, almost miraculously, in places that are simply not theirs. This is because the world is full of individuals, places and races who enigmatically find themselves in the places they now occupy. Are we martyrs of history? No, martyrs are people who deserve the respect and consideration of generations to come. One can assume that a martyr has the intelligence to weigh the importance of the consequences of their actions in space and time. When everything seems to happen like a miracle, even victims do not deserve the compassion of the survivors. And this is not because the world is full of wickeds, but because there is some fatalistic aspect that takes its roots in the physiological concepts of the victim. This aspect of fatalism will constitute for the victims a solid basis of the reality through which they will look at the world. The worst is when the individual starts conceiving his own identity as part of the legacy of the victims of history. This is mostly how victims lose the consideration and respect of the winners. I'm sure that we all have experienced a drunk person interrupting a serious discussion with ideas that do not deserve our consideration. The drunk person always becomes frustrated to see that we do not respect them. Are we forced to pay attention to ideas coming from a person who apparently does not think that these are thoughts that are serious enough to be assigned during moments of having a sober brain? In Africa, there are many stories that expose problems of identity, meaning the conflict between the identity we create and the one that nature gives us. The first story is about a group of chickens, tired of losing chicks through the actions of eagles. The chickens decided that there should be a way to change the identity of eagles. It is clear that if they could succeed in turning any bird, eagle or not, into not wanting to identify themselves with eagle, there would no longer be danger coming from the sky. The chickens stole eagle eggs and brought them to their nests. When the eggs hatched, the chickens taught the baby eagles that they were nothing but chicks. The baby eagles lived as chicks. They scratched the ground for worms and insects like chicks, and clucked like chickens. They would fly very high in the sky, but always came back and landed by the feet of the mother chickens and their cousin chicks. Years passed by, and like any chicken, their mothers taught them that eagles were their enemies and that they should never communicate with them. One day, while the eagles and chickens were playing in the yard, I should say real chickens and fake chickens, the real chickens saw real eagles approaching in the sky. The real chickens started shouting, "Eagles, eagles, eagles, eagles!" All the chickens, real chickens and fake chickens, were scared and trembling with fear. They ran for cover. The real eagles were surprised to see other eagles running with chickens as they were approaching. As they reached the yard, they were shocked to see that some eagles, the chick eagles, were trembling with fear with the chickens. And all together they were shouting loudly, "Wicked eagles, satanic eagles, don't kill us, go away." The real eagles could not believe what they were seeing and hearing. They shook their heads, and very confused they flew back to the heights of the sky. The mother chickens celebrated with joy. They had finally found a way to protect their chicks. The eagle chicks were happy because they survived the eagles. After moments of celebration, the mother chick came to the eagle chicks and talked to them in these terms. "Oh dear chicks, just by your presence among us, you have discouraged eagles. They saw that you are as big as them, as agile as them, and as ferocious as them. We think that in a war, the best defense is the attack. We will organize you and send you to attack eagles. A chicken that is proud of itself should be ready to sacrifice itself for the security of chicken and chicks." I will stop this story here to give enough room for the imagination of the reader. One can only speculate about the future of eagles from this point. On the same momentum, there is another story that involves a baby lion and a group of buffalo. When the lion that was thinking that it was a buffalo found itself cornered by a group of lions, one lion asked him, "Why are you crying? Don't you see that you are our blood? Look, you are a lion." The lion buffalo calmed itself. But when they asked him who he thought he was, He answered with only one sound. Moo. The search for the cultural identity of an individual is not necessarily a phenomenon that is directed against other people. We should recognize that nature has set a basis for our identity. It is up to us, intelligent beings, to make their search either a battlefield on which we will go for the destruction of others and the whole humanity, or a sacred tower from which we and the others will celebrate our love for the world and the peaceful existence of all people.
Yeah. I mean, it's powerful, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we see, as we said, we can see where.
Playing out in reality.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's very sad when you see it amongst the children, especially amongst the youth, that have been somehow subliminally, perniciously trained to see those that look like them as an enemy. So the murders, black on black violence is continuing amongst our youth, discriminately murdering one another. So we know
would
that
you say that it's through a lack of knowing self as well?
it's
though,
for a
that
lack
they're
of,
able to
of
kind
course it
manipulate
is.
them?
Of course it is. And the educational system has done a good job in that. You know, the media, propaganda machines, they've done a very good job. So we notice that I don't watch TV or all these music channels, but we know that the music that they're pushing out there and the artists that they're pushing out there are not the artists that's elevating our children, our youth, educationally or spiritually. Though the artists that they're pushing out there are the ones that are bringing our youth down into degradation and degeneration, unfortunately.
So in terms of diversity and inclusion, I mean, we're given like that false sense of like we are included and we're loved like everybody else. But you can see the deception in the story where we then prove our loyalty to them, then they're able then really right to send us out like as their reconnaissance really, or their warriors, their soldiers really to go out and fight their battle. But the battle that we're fighting is against self, against, you know, you can see how many, look, like if you make a reflection back on the Windrush, how many of us came here, went and fought in the, you know,
The
for Queen and
wars.
country, and then, you know, we can see what happened there in the Windrush where they didn't feel no way to kind of
Deport them.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
but that was a sense of not knowing the self, not knowing who they are and identifying and what they're actually fighting for.
Yeah, but unfortunately, regardless of even if they had that knowledge of self, the system was against them. So,
Yeah, but there's still that resistance so that you don't have to go and put yourself forward to be volunteers. Many did volunteers to come and did fight for Queen and Country, thinking that it was a good thing at the time.
oh, you mean in them days? Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
They did.
Yeah. And so that's a part of the manipulation because, you know, that proudness within the family has also carried on, yeah, to this day. But as we're gonna go like a little bit more, you're gonna play this tune in, or and then we're gonna read some excerpt from the.
Not yet.
Okay, I'll play this tune. Alright.
See if your mind is filled with See if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction. It's about time you know you say. And if you're looking at the mirror, you not like the reflection. Full time that you know you say. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you say. You need to fly with eagles and not walk with chickens. Full time that you know you say. Yeah. Keep time with faith. Give thanks with each day. Positive energy, glass half full, not half empty. Hold firm, Psalms 23, and the liberty between you and me. All I ask for humanity is to pledge love with the unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you know like your reflection, full time that you know you're safe. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're safe. You need to fly with eagles and don't walk with chickens. Full time that you know you're safe. Take time, heed the teachings of the one who died so that we can live. Cast out the negative, welcome the constructive. Hold firm, stand guard, righteous, this is the Lord. All I ask for humanity is to pledge the love and unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you know like your reflection, all time that you know you're safe. See, judgment is close and the clock.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, it was technical issues. Anyway, I think we got the gist of that song, which is about knowing yourself, and be careful of what one holds in your mind. If it's full of hatred and destruction, then we're in serious problems. So I'm going to just read some brief extracts from the philosophy podium before we bring in our guest. So this chapter is entitled Society and Individual Destruction. Actually, I'm just going to read some extracts that kind of sums up the topic of today's show. So, after serious observation of human history for millennium by honest observer, without any desire to favor any part of the world or disparage any other part, the conclusion still holds: Kemet is the cradle of humanity. The existence of humanity knows only one name for what is favorable for the whole human existence: the territorial Kemet, the philosophical Kemet, the metaphysical Kemet, etc. From the history of the genealogy of pharaohs, one observes that for millennia the lifeline of a humble farmer was as simple as the lifeline of the highest clerk in the social hierarchy. The most important change has happened only recently, and this concerns the attitude that one should adopt towards the principles of life. One's ultimate search is for the real face of life, and the principle of spiritual honesty is the real object of each human's quest, according to the philosophical education of Kemetic temples. Every individual is the incarnation of the infant god Heru, who the West calls Horus. And all the versions of the Kemetic cosmogony persist because all human beings, whoever they are and whatever step of their lives they are in, are considered Heru. Each of us is the image of the Godchild who arrived on earth with a clear mission: to reduce the evil on earth. This mission by itself is not complicated. We can see that every individual always manages to believe that his intentions are good, regardless of how serious the evil in him is, or how serious the evil that he causes is. There is a tendency to believe that even if his actions are of the most evil. It is his intentions that should count. As the saying goes, it's the thought that counts. Heru's mission on earth will not be his problem. His problem will be his very own existence and nature. He is subject to all sorts of corruption. Therefore, his greatest problem will be how to identify the forces of evil, and in brackets Seth. The human problem, our problem, will also be our ability to identify those same forces of evil. And that evil, the seeds of destruction and self-destruction, is revealed by its ability to metamorphose. It is revealed by its power to seduce, like a monster so elusive that it is always present to strike the individual when he or she least expects it to strike. Having the advantage of preceding humanity and knowing all the ropes and weaknesses of the human being, Set and all the forces of evil are in reality nothing but predators in a constant hunt, and each human is nothing but prey, looking only for ways to evil to survive. This is in short the struggle for every individual who arrives on earth, and this struggle does not change whether we enter this life intelligent, stupid, wise, strong, weak, etc. But Eru arrived on earth with a clear mission: to re-establish the name of his father and the territories of his father, the territory on which evil will not rule. Heru came to liberate the universe from the claws of Seth. But because the mission of the Godchild is to free the world from the seeds of destruction, and because every one of us is that Godchild, we find ourselves in a very delicate situation. Set does not have a physical territory where we can go to fight him as champions of good. He has a place in every territory, and he occupies it only temporarily. Set can even place himself at the same moment inside the actor of evil, inside the victim of evil, and inside the observer of evil, which makes us all potential criminals, only waiting for perfect excuses to commit crime. And I'm going to leave that there as food for thought, I think, Nahibsa.
Yeah, we can see he's only got certain hold over you, really, isn't it? And it's only when you allow him to have that, because we do have that control to contain that evil within us.
Yeah, and as Master Naba says, one does not change the world by wanting to change one's neighbor, because charity, world orders, starts with the self. So we know that the Neteru, the divine beings, the gods, gave humanity the 77 commandments, as we mentioned earlier about the 77 commandment, and that is one of the tools that we've been given in able to raise our spiritual qualities.
Yeah, so we're going to try to bring him back to this tune here, Lloyd Brown, once again. I think the lyrics in it is quite...
See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're sick. And if you're looking at the mirror, you're not like the reflection, full time that you know you're sick. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're sick. You need to fly with eagles and not walk with chickens. Full time that you know you're sick. Yeah. Keep time with faith, give thanks with each day. Positive energy, glass half full, not half empty. Hold firm, Psalms 23, and the liberty between you and me. All I ask for humanity is to pledge love with the unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you not like your reflection, it's time that you know you're safe. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're safe. You need to fly with eagles and not walk with chickens. Time that you know you're safe. Take time, heed the teachings of the one who died so that we can live. Cast out the negative, welcome the constructive. Hold firm, stand guard, righteous, this is the Lord. All I ask for humanity is to pledge the love and unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you know.
Nahib's just gonna finish singing the song. We've got another technical hitch.
If your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you not like the reflection, it's time that you know you're safe. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're safe. You need to fly with eagles and not walk with chickens. Full time that you know you're safe. Yeah. Keep time with faith, give thanks with each day. Positive energy, glass half full, not half empty. Hold firm, Psalms 23, and the liberty between you and me. All I ask for humanity is to pledge love with the unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you not like your reflection, it's time that you know you're safe. You see, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're safe. You need to fly with eagles and not walk with chickens. Full time that you know you're safe. Take time, heed the teachings of the one who died so that we can live. Cast out the negative, welcome the constructive. Hold firm, stand guard, righteous, this is the Lord. All I ask for humanity is to pledge the love and unity. See, if your mind is filled with the hate and destruction, it's about time you know you're safe. And if you're looking at the mirror, you not like your reflection, full time that you know you're safe. See, judgment is close and the clock is ticking. It's about time you know you're safe. You need to fly with eagles and no walk with no chicken. Full time that you know you're safe. Make time for the young ones so they can build nations with the knowledge. Be selfless in your actions, whatever the test. There's too much hating, reverse that with celebrating. All I ask for humanity is to pledge love with the unity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep time with faith, give thanks.
That's Lloyd Brown and Peter Spencer.
Spence.
We're gonna bring in our guest now. Let's see if we can. Ujjayi,
Ujjayi.
Ujjayi, greetings and welcome to the Nile show. I'm the hipster here alongside with
Who shall you to me?
We just introduced ourselves. And we're going to ask you to introduce yourself, if you could, please.
Well, you know what? First, I'd like to say Netzer Dua to both of you for creating this platform for us to be able to share. My name is SatMahata Abounu. I am from the San Diego Earth Center School, and I currently reside here in Chicago, and I am trying to stay warm through all of this snow, which I'm not used to. I'm used to sunny California, but
Oh wow.
you know how it goes. We have to adapt wherever we go. So yes.
So what temperature
Yeah.
is it nowadays?
Oh my God, it was 22. It was 22 degrees. I was like, what is that? What is that? One day it got down to 0 degrees. I was like, no, this is not real. This is not real. How is this possible? So
Was that self-inflicted, though, wasn't it?
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very possible. I saw some images the other day. Snow in South Africa. The mountains were full. People were skiing. I did not know that snow was in South Africa. Yeah. So nature is very possible doing some amazing things.
Yes. Yeah.
So Hattini, would you like to? Yeah, I know you've just introduced yourself. You're giving the listeners your name. Would you like to, as customary, give the listeners the meaning of your name, please?
So, Sat in the Medu language means daughter, and Mahata is the oldest form of the goddess Ma'at. So I am the daughter of the goddess Ma'at. The last name, which is pronounced Abounu, is means purified by the goddess Nu. So yes, there's a whole lot that goes along with SatMahata Abounu.
Yeah. So when did you graduate?
I graduated in, I believe it was 2015.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's been a journey. As I've been listening to the show about understanding and getting to know, who you are, it wasn't until, I came to the Earth Center that I realized that there was so much to myself that I didn't know, because by this society, I'm supposed to be one of many different things. I'm supposed to either be a single black mother, I'm going to just keep it 100 to you. I'm either a hustler, a prostitute, or something like that. And those are the ideals that were laid out for me from where I came from.
Wow.
There was no identity to understanding the things that I felt in my heart as a little girl, which was I wanted to always be a sister. I wanted to be around my father. I wanted to be a wife. I remember I always wanted to be a wife. And so those things didn't resonate with the things that I visually saw. So when you read that story about chicks and eagles, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. So, yeah.
So you mentioned the level of achievement that was expected of you. So what was the educational system that you went through?
I didn't really go to college. I went to regular school, and I was okay, let me just keep it 100. I was kicked out of a lot of schools. I was a very angry little child.
Okay.
I was very mean. I didn't talk for a long time, So I just went to regular secular school. I graduated by the skin of my teeth high school. And after I did that, I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I just really, I was like, yes, I achieved something. I graduated. I did what they asked me to do. Now it's time for me to go and, what I see the generation doing now, which is a lot scarier than it was when I grew up. You know.
So did you grow up in Detroit?
I grew up in actually San Diego, California, which is like the West Coast. Yeah. And so I grew up in a place called Southeast San Diego, where there were two different kind of gangs where we grew up. And, you know, it was a lifestyle that I chose. It wasn't a lifestyle that was brought up. I was brought up into. Looking back, and it was so interesting because my father called me last night. And when he called me last night, he was talking about the relationship that we have now and how he likes what I'm studying now because now he gets to have a daughter.
Wow.
And at that time, we were brought up that, you know, like, don't be a punk. You know, don't cry. Make sure you get yours in first. You know, just kind of like a violent mentality, you know, like, so you had no remorse for anyone outside yourself.
Wow.
Right. And so we considered, and my dad was saying last night, it was so interesting. He was like, you know, I really didn't realize my father was such a good man. He said, it's only through your eyes that I see the work that you're doing right now and see how having a relationship with you lets me see how I really missed the relationship that I had with my father. And my father was really a good man. And it brought me to tears last night because when we're in this initiation and we're unlearning everything, we don't get to see what other people see as far as them looking at the work we're doing for ourselves and helping our family.
Yeah.
And so when he said that was that he says, I'm so proud of you. Man, that's all I ever wanted to hear was that my father was proud of me.
That's
you
beautiful.
know.
Yeah. That's
And when you were talking about how we come into this and we're just like Heru, trying to wash the insults off for the father and reclaim the father's name. He says, do you understand? And this happened last night. I was like, the ancestors got jokes, you know, and yesterday was Ancestor Holy Day.
Yeah.
So for my father to, you know, it was like maybe my father's father speaking through him. And I was like, wow, really? And he says, you know, I didn't realize the things that I should do to carry my father's name. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was just such a good conversation. And, you know, this is such an honor. It's such an honor to be in this position where maybe my father wasn't able to pick this work up. Maybe my older sister wasn't able to pick this work up. And then it just kept carrying until the one that could, you know, semi-carry it. Because some days I don't think I'm doing a good job. But, you know, to do the best that I very can to carry it. Man.
Well, you started it now, so you know you're that beacon there now, really, for others to see. 'Cause like your father can see now, others will probably see as well now as well. You know?
Yeah.
So,
you know, and just, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
And I just had the most recent thing. I got out of my comfort zone because in San Diego, I wasn't really growing spiritually, you know. I'd grow just enough, but I can't say it was San Diego. I have to say that it isn't until one gets out of their comfort zone and they really have to wear this. That's the only way that's the only word I have for this. When I really have to own this and wear it and be the beacon of light that this is really within me, is when I come to another place I know nothing about. When I moved to Chicago, let me tell you, it's been an experience that's been the best experience of my life. I don't have my father or my mother with me per se to like, if something happens, oh mama, I need you, oh daddy, I need you. No. Now I get to stand for what I represent and what they've given me.
Yeah.
and what, you know, the Macro, and you know, forgive me, because I really need to say this, and it might be a little late, but I wish to greet you and your ancestors and all the energies that are present with you. And I have to thank the Prophet Nebnabala Musa for just giving someone, you know, a chance like me to be able to like clean themselves enough. And there's still more stuff I gotta do, but
It's continuous.
it's just this process.
Yeah.
This process.
It's a journey. It's a journey. So,
Yeah.
the San Diego temple, is that still running?
It is going to be moved, from my understanding. It's in the process of being moved a little further up north, but it will be up north a little bit more instead of in the San Diego area.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So, backtracking, and your father, would I be incorrect to say that he was a Christian or is a Christian?
My father didn't like religion too much. My father wasn't really a religious person. His father loved culture.
Wow.
My grandfather, he loved culture. He loved everything. My mother, she was a Jehovah's Witness, so everything that I was doing was part of the devil, demons, and all that kind of stuff. And I never was baptized Jehovah's Witness. It was something about it that just didn't sit well with me. When they couldn't answer a couple of my questions, I was like, yeah, I'm cool on you guys. Thank you very much. And I'm out. So for them, it was just something. If you couldn't answer my questions, I'd thank you very nicely, and then I'd keep going. Now with my mom, my mother, oh man, she says, well, I have to stop associating with you because what you're studying right now. And I said, Mama, I said, I love this. I said, because when I came to an orientation, the first thing, you see the DVD and the macro says, we respect all gods. That's when I was like, oh, I'm in the place I need. And I told my mother, I said, I don't have to discount Jehovah for you. If that's what works for you, I am 100%. I respect Jehovah, and I went to someone that was like a godfather or whatever you would call it, that knew me from when I was little, had passed away. And I went in traditional clothes to the Kingdom Hall and said the prayers that I know to say and respected the traditions there, but made sure that I didn't offend anything as well. So, and that's the one thing that I learned when I was on pilgrimage, because I saw so many different people from different cultures and different places, and that were part of different maybe religions. But when it came to doing the work, they all respected the ancestral spirit. They all respected the work. And that's when I was like, okay, so this has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with the ancestral spirit and those things in nature. And I was like, here we go. Okay. So
just clarify this for me, please. So what you're saying is, when you went to pilgrimage, you just didn't see Earth Center initiates. There were other people from other religions, or should I say from religions, who came there to get spiritual work done.
When I went to Merita on my pilgrimage, there were certain people that helped with the work that I noticed that some people were maybe different religious backgrounds. Like in Merita, there's Christianity, there's Muslim, and there's I even seen a Kingdom Hall there. So, and what I'm saying is that when I was there, I saw people that would traditionally maybe be Muslim, that were actually helping to do the work.
Wow.
You know, our
Yes.
spiritual work. I
Yeah.
mean, it didn't have anything to do with religion, but it had to do with everything as far as the, how can I say, the ancestral spirit, the work that needed to be done to help the human being.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Because
basically,
religion has it has its barriers. It can only go so far,
yeah.
you know. However, when it comes to the ancestral spirit and it comes to culture, there's that has specific things as well. However, when it comes to this work, that I want to say that trumps it. That means that this work comes with what it comes with. And they were there to do the work, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I understand because I know Christians from the limited indoctrination that I received. I know
Mm-hmm.
that they do not acknowledge ancestors, and the
Mm-mm.
same with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so basically what you're saying is they surpass their religious teaching, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that the traditional teaching was required in relation to communicating with their
Mm-hmm.
ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, it seems like it was very important for them to do so.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's just so it was so refreshing to see the things that we actually talk about, um, as far as this education. When we're talking about the M-Tom school, when we're talking about the school part, you can actually see it. You know, like I would see women get up first thing in the morning, and they would be sweeping the floor, and you know, or they'd be cooking, or they'd be washing. And then you'd find out, or you'd see someone that would come and they had the most humblest attitude. And you find out that this person is a priest. And I'm like, wow. So when you brought up and you read in the philosophy folding, you talked about in this culture, the one who sweeps the floor is just as important as the one that can be able to help guide you or give you some kind of direction in which way to go, or the same person that can help heal an ailment, you know, or the same person that plows the field to make sure that we got food.
Yeah.
You know, everybody is useful, and that was so important to me in this space and time that I'm in.
Absolutely. I mean, because we know that the society that we're living, they deal with a lot of hierarchy. And
Yeah, everyone is expandable. If
yes.
you're not doing this job, if you're the CEO, you're not doing this job, then you know what I'm saying? There's someone above you. There's someone above that one. And you can be fired, or they'll make you resign. Either way. You know, and then you have the politics. You know, it's always some kind of politicking going on. You know? And so you just have to be, you know, mindful of your position. And everyone there is, you know, it was just, you know, I got to see so many amazing things when I was there on pilgrimage. I've learned so much how to be able to speak and have a voice, and be humble in having a voice, and making sure that what I'm saying gets heard, and not that it's heard. Like when we say something, I want it to reach your mind and your heart in what I'm saying, so that you can understand that I'm coming from a place not in the form of egotistical, but in a place of genuineness, you know, and making sure that everything is in as far as the whole is being thought of. So, yeah.
Yeah. So
You know, I just recently had this experience when I was thinking about my dad, and I got to share it with him. I have semi-custody of my 2 grandkids. Each of them have different fathers. And 2 days before an ancestral holiday, I was thinking, and I was like, you know, I wonder how can I get these children to their fathers? This is so important. answer. And it was just like a simple thought, didn't think much of it. And, usually those thoughts happen when I'm sweeping a floor or mopping something. And so as I'm doing that, my sister messages me and she says, and it's my grandson's father. And he's messaging her saying, I'm trying to get in touch with you. I'm trying to get in touch. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And he says, I'm trying to get in touch. I just, am trying to get in touch with my son. And I immediately Facebook back and tell him, we're here. We're in Chicago. I see you're in Chicago, blah, blah, this and that. Would you like to see him? When can we get in touch with you? And next thing I know, he says, I call him, he answers. And I'm like in tears because I'm like, oh my gosh, this was really happening. And he says, well, I'm not actually in Chicago. I'm still in San Diego, but my mother and my sister are in Chicago. I said, give your mama my number, blah, blah, this and that. And we end up getting in touch. And now my grandson is able to see his father's mother and connect with them. And I would have never done that if I stayed in San Diego. I don't know that I would have had that opportunity to really stand up for what this work entails and how powerful the ancestors are when you just reach out to them and you give a simple request. Yeah. This is the most amazing. I ain't got this from church. I ain't got it from reading tarot cards. I ain't got none of that from any of that. I've only received that through being part of, the Earth Center, So.
Yeah.
It's those offerings in it, like ancestral, they were kind of presenting it with having that dialogue, that communication. They said, we're assisting them and they're helping us back in return. And we see it being played out.
Yes. And the thing about it is we could talk about this all day long, but until, we have that concrete proof, I don't think it becomes real. It becomes a thing of something of study. The philosophy podium becomes alive when we see it played out in this time and space. The initiatic tales of Judgement becomes real when we see it played out in our everyday life. When, the first story in the initiatic tales of Judgement, which was the funniest thing, was when How Rich, How Poor, that was my favorite story. This father, he gonna teach his son, you know what I'm saying, how wealthy they are, And the perspective from the little boy was that, oh my gosh, Father, I see how poor we are. And I cracked up. I laughed so hard, and my granddaughter was like, Grandma, what's so funny? And I read her the story, and she kind of didn't get it. But then later on, she was like, oh, okay, I get it. But it tickled me, in the sense, because that's what we do as adults. We think we're going to teach them something, and we end up learning something as well.
But it showed you the limitation as well, though, that we put on ourselves.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
that's how powerful, though, really, like these stories in the initiatic tales and the philosophy podium. It's you can see how, like, why they call him Prophet Nebnaba. So in terms of, like, say, your fellow peer group that you grew up with, how do they perceive you now, really, where you're at?
I didn't, and when I was growing up, I really didn't hang out with a lot of people. So, I know one of our family friends, she calls me sister now. You know what I'm saying? I I think I know a lot of because I ended up becoming a massage therapist. And when I became a massage therapist, while I was going through initiation, I used a lot of the teachings, and I would tell my clients, you need a reading. This is above my pay grade. You need a reading. You need some help. I can't help you on this aspect. Or it would be something very simple. I tell them, okay, um, you might want to try asking yourself these 3 questions, and it would be some aspect of that. And I remember I had the best experience I could ever have. There was a lady that was a nonprofit, and she came and she was going to help us with our nonprofit and try and get in San Diego to try and help us. And she knew me, and we kind of went through the same spiritual circles, and she watched how, my life was different and how things changed in the small amount of time that we, ran in the same, what I would call spiritual circles. They were like, had to do with energy classes and different things like that. And she could see how I was very serious about what I was studying. And so when I came and I introduced her to some other people, she says, she says, this lady right here, she says, I really don't know you guys. And I understand what you're telling me about, what you're saying about the Earth Center and all that. She says, but this lady right here, I can tell you right now, she walks this and she talks this. So it was very interesting for her to see that. And the same thing is like my father said, for him to say that he's very proud. I can only speak about mainly my family and maybe a couple of other people. But those people have seen that it's like a real different change in me, especially when it came to the way I conducted myself with men. It was very different than when I wasn't, in this. I learned how I wanted to really conduct myself as a woman. And I'm not saying that it was initially the Earth Center, but it was certain things that I was able to pick up, and I was like, okay, you know what? Now I see the value in me. I see the value in the way that I want to walk. I see where I can actually be taken differently if I act and behave a certain kind of way. If I like to be taken seriously, then I have to show some type of respect for myself. And so I'm not saying the Earth Center gave that to me, but it gave me the idea in which I could stand on, and understanding that when I leave out of this door of this house, I represent my father, my father's father, my bloodline. I represent, all the things that come with me. And so that was something that was very interesting. So when people could see that, even the men that once knew me, either they fell off or no one, contacted me anymore. And so that was very, I guess, honoring, So, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, as you said before, the Earth Center can't really, they don't change us. They give us the means for us to change ourselves, really. It's like the master and the disciple. He gives you the tool, and it's for us to do the work on self, really, isn't it?
And when they talk about this, an inside job, it's for real.
Yes.
It is not for fake. It is for real. It is, and there's, certain situations that pop up, and boy, I tell you, I have to, hold on, and then sometimes you'll catch me and I'll be, as I said, I'll be jaw jacking or talking trash, and then I have to figure out which arena or which hat I'm wearing at the time, and I have to always remember that, that I'm always representing, my family. Yeah.
So have any of your siblings at all been interested, having seen the change in you, the positive change in you? Have any of them been interested to attend the Earth Center at all?
You know, my oldest son decided he wanted to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And he decided first of all, he was like, I can't talk to you. I can't associate with you. Blah, blah, blah. No problem. And I tell you, I was madder than a wet hen. I was upset. I was really mad. And then I was like, ancestors, I prayed that he would get spirituality. And they were like, well, he got spirituality. It might be a small amount. It might be what he can take at the time, but you didn't specify which one. I was like, oh, okay, got it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, he got something. So my youngest son, you know, he came to Chicago. He said, I want to see where my mama going. He a little feisty, little old thing. He's like, I want to see where my mama going, you know, and I talked to him the other day and he says, Mama, I just called to see how you was doing. I just wanted to come see you. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, and so he's thinking about coming out here. My daughter, you know, that's a issue that is very hard for me. But it's one that I had to really face. And we'll see what the ancestors have in store for that one. And my sister, she likes where she's at, you know. And my younger brother, nobody's really doing that. You know, my granddaughter, I've had her since she's like 6 months, and she does Zim, she does the prayers, and now that it's open to younger kids, I'm gonna make sure she does initiation. So, and yeah, so that's what I got. And
it's
they have.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's such a shame that when people join religions, that they become very secular and would deny their own family because of this religion that they've joined. Whereas you would think that religion is about humanity, it's about love, it's about unity. But yet still, what I see most of the time is a lot about division. Yeah, it's like spiritual elitism. I mean, religious elitism, actually, I would say, not spiritual. So,
but if you think about it, and I apologize for cutting you off, but you could see where they would want to have that. Remember, in the classes, we had that one class on egoism. They want to have something that they protect that is so pure. They want to have that. They just don't know they don't have the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So I could understand wanting to defend something all the way to where they really have to make sure that it keeps its authenticity. So they want to hold on to it so tight that, you know, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm not going to knock it. You know what I'm saying? Let me know when I can come over or when I can't come over.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the most honoring thing is to meet them where they're at.
Yes.
And say, okay, well, whenever you're, you know, because religion, they change things all the time.
Yes.
And so, you know, I just wait for it to change. And my mom said, yeah, you know, I can't be around you and all this kind of stuff. I said, no problem, you know, and she had gotten really ill. And they found her literally dead at a bus stop. And they brought her back to life. And we were in the emergency room, and all the Jehovah's Witnesses, they were praying. And as they're sitting there praying, you know, I'm like, okay, I was like, I'm going to call my folks that I know. And so I made a phone call and I asked, was there anything that I could do to help my mother? And basically there was. And so I did what was asked for me to do. My mom woke up instantly. Now, if you ask the Jehovah's Witnesses, their prayers answered.
Yes.
Possibly. I won't knock it. You know, I'm not going to tell them you know what I'm saying? You know, and you know, that's it. It's not for me to do. It's for me to only be a good daughter. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I liken it, because I found early on when I would push my way onto my family, it isolated me even more.
Yes.
When I sat there and I met them where they were, and they would ask me questions, and I didn't get defensive, I got educational.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, well, you know how you guys only have 10 commandments? I said, I have 77, so I have to live by a whole lot more, you know. And one of the ones is that, you know, and I would say off something, and it would be pertaining to the situation that we were in at that moment. And they were like, wow, that's interesting. And I was like, yeah. You know, it was interesting because my father didn't like Christianity, but he liked Islam. So he became Eddie 2X. So he got, you know, he went into Islam, and he liked the prayers, and he liked my prayer beads. He liked that I would do ablutions. He got to see all of that. So he got to see all of that. And then when he was like, that's the same thing we do. I was like, yes, Daddy, yes. And so when someone can feel a part of and not so isolated and say, oh, wow, we do that too, then they're more open to share what they have and more receptive of what you have.
Yeah.
You know, when you find the commonality, when you find those things that are in common. Yeah, you know, we clean ourselves like that. Oh, you guys do? Oh, okay. And I have to do that before I pray. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Daddy. And that's what brought me and my father together, as well as him. He cracks me up because he'll tell his friends whenever I came to visit, he says, I'm so proud of my baby. You know, my baby she went back to the motherland. She the only person I know. She says, she the only person I know that set her feet on the motherland. Wow. And she went and she slept in a tent. I said, Daddy. He said, she slept on the ground. She slept. I was like, Daddy. He was like, no, that's a bad move. And I was like, okay, thank you, Daddy. Thank you. You know, he just tells people that all the time, you know. So
that's beautiful.
I'm very grateful. Yeah.
So you mentioned he's turned to Islam. Is that the NOI?
Yes.
Okay.
He even came to Chicago.
Okay.
We were laughing. He says, yeah, how you like that code? I said, Daddy, it's not cool. He says, yeah. He's like, when I came for the NOI, and he says he did the Million Man March. That's how he did the Million Man March, and he was so proud of that. You know. Yeah. He did the Million Man March, and he was so proud of that. And he wanted to be a part of, you know, human beings or humans want to feel a part of something.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you look at how society has broken up everything, you know, the man and the woman in the household, you know, the woman educating her children, the father educating her children, them, you know, understanding what their family bloodline did, all those things, breaking all those things up, creating such a confusion. It's no wonder our children are the way they are. It's like for us to take back the home. You know, it's for us to take back the home. I don't, you know, it's so interesting because while I'm at this, the Earth Center, twice I have had people run in here from situations that were, one lady was hiding from her boyfriend and she was hysterical. And I just sat in a chair and I said, well, are you okay? Would you like some water? She said, "Oh my God, you're so calm." I said, "Well, you came to the right place. This is a temple." She ran straight up in here. I couldn't even, like normally we'd be like, "Oh," I'd be blocking the door or something, Came up in here. A guy came. "Oh, ma'am, can I clean the thing? I need some help." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I know everybody else from Chicago would tell me don't do that, but I let him. And whatever change I had, I gave it. I've had another woman rush in here behind some kind of other thing. And each time they've come in here and they're like, "This is the most calming place I've ever come to." And I was like, wow. And I am so grateful because I had the opportunity, because everybody's gone to pilgrimage. So a lot of the weight falls on us that's here.
Yeah.
And, we tend to think, "Oh my God, I got to go to the EC and mop and sweep and answer the phones." And it becomes a chore. And I'm going to keep it honest with you. It became like a chore. So it became something that was very heavy until an online initiate came and she was stopping through and she asked, could I come to see the EC? And I'm like, "Girl, yeah, sure." Now, mind you, a person that's online, not saying they don't have a temple, but they have no place where they come. She touched with Sir Mila. She said, "Can I touch that?" I said, "Yes, girl, touch it." And she's like, "Well, can I sweep? Can I mop? Girl, sweep, mop, whatever you want. Yes, please." And it wasn't until I sat down for 2 seconds and I looked at her face did I see how ungrateful I was, because I have somewhere where I can go recharge my energies in a physical place that has a jingli, that I can give offerings, that I can come to. And she has her education online. Now, she was able, to do some things as well. But for her to be able to come here and say, "What can I bring? Is there an offering I can give?" And for me to be able to say, "Yes, would you like to give this and that?" And I was like, "You know what? I told her, thank you for restoring my watch and showing me my face." And I was like, wow. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we don't see the work that we're doing and the appreciation and the inspiration sometimes that you're giving to others out there.
Yeah.
It can become challenging to yourself, really, until that realization comes back into that you can refocus, really, isn't it? Because it can seem like a burden at times, isn't it? It's true. Where you see other people doing other things, you feel, well, because it takes. This is the appreciation that I personally like, to see what the Makaroo has put together and the sacrifice that he had to make to do this. You have to kind of wonder, well, what life did he actually live to be able to kind of to keep this, just to get it off the ground, Yeah, and so...
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, yeah. You're the guest. You want to say what you have to say.
When I came here, I asked a whole lot of questions. He printed everything himself. You talking about a real hustler? Woo! He made sure this is what when we talk about somebody making sure you have everything that you need at your disposal. Everything that you need, to ways in which it can, like flourish itself and keep growing, for it to have like a blueprint on how it should run, who should have a voice, everything. Oh, man. And then it just keeps growing and keeps growing.
Yeah.
So how challenging, though, was the initiation for you? We know the struggles. We've all, every generation has their own battles to go through,
My initiation it was actually 4 years. It was 4 years. It was 4 years and then some. It was, whew. It was worth all of it. It was worth it. when they talk about forging you through fire, man, you had to weed some things out. And sometimes I know in the bush, they'll create a fire to weed some things out, bugs and all. So I was like, yeah, I can understand that, boy. So yeah, so it was challenging, but I tell you, it's the best work I ever did. Best work I ever did. Best work I've ever did.
Yeah.
I was sharing with someone that I wanted to quit. I think, and when I shared this story, she was like, "What?" And then I honestly wanted to quit again recently, before I moved to Chicago. I wanted to quit a second time, but the first time, I remember, I guess you could say at the time I was very arrogant. You can't tell me nothing. And when I came into initiation, I'm older, so I'm a lot older, and so I had all these young kids telling me what to do, and I'm like, where I came from on the street, unless you walked in my shoes, you can't tell me anything. Matter of fact, you can't even sit at the same table as me. Matter of fact, I sit at the little kids' table, and mind your manners. So that's kind of like where I had come from, and so that don't fly here in this initiation.
No.
And so I was humble. I was doing everything, and I remember it was the last straw. I was like, I'm cool on all this, y'all. I've had enough. And so I remember I was going to, and at the time the classes were at this beautiful space called the World Beat Center in San Diego. And I remember I had went there, and classes were all day on a Saturday or a Sunday. I can't remember. And so class would start first thing at like 8 o'clock. So you had to get there at 7:30, sweep everything, 7:15, sweep everything, get it all open, 7:45, be sitting where you're supposed to be sitting, and, all those kind of things like that. And so I remember Hatsune Irita was coming. And so I really didn't know him at all. And, and at the time he had his 2 sons with him. Now, mind you, he was staying up in a place called Oceanside. So that's like 60 minutes away. And he had to drive down to San Diego to be there on time. And so I remember I was so upset, and I was like, you know what? I came there crying. I was like, I quit. I saw them, and I said, I'm going to tell you face to face. I made sure I didn't have my books with me. You're not going to talk me into it. I quit. So I left him at home. Well, I thought I was slick. So I left him at home. And so I'm sitting there, and Hatsune Irita, he get out of the car. He got a coffee in his hand. And I remember the 2 little boys in tow, not complaining, not whining, not crying, not nothing, with their dad. And I remember getting out. And so I said, oh, I'm crying. Oh, I quit. I can't do this anymore. Blah, 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 I remember Irita looked at me and said, what? And I was like, huh? It kind of threw me off. He says, what? After all the sacrifices that I made, do you understand? I had to wake my children up and blah, blah, this, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, dang. I was like, well, I don't. And so then Irita walks past me, and the kids, they're in tow. They walk right past, don't say nothing, And I'm still sitting there. And so at this time, Nikitan was there too. And Nikitan was like, I think you might want to go get your books and sit in class. He says, I tell you what, this is the way we do things. If at the end of all of the classes today, go home, get your books, sit in all the classes today. At the end of class, if you can find a good reason to quit, put it in an email and you can quit. I said, okay, cool. So I go home, I get my books, I come back, and I was like, I'm going to show them. So I sit there, and I sit through all the classes. Now, in classes, I'm sitting there, and I'm half listening because I'm writing down, what that young boy, he stepped on my toes. No, that's not a good reason. Dang. Okay. I don't like the way they talk to me. Nope, not a good reason. Did they hit you? Nope. Did they this? Nope. Did they this? Did they? And I went through everything my small mind could think of. And I still have not found a good reason to leave the initiation. So I was like, joke was on me. I was like, ancestors got jokes again. Here we go. So, because most of the time it's like people stuff. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And it's human stuff. Someone steps on my toes, Yeah. One thing I learned when I went on pilgrimage, I watched people, they be sitting up there, they be cussing and fighting, husbands and wives be doing all kinds of stuff. And they're yelling and screaming, sound like fighting in, a traditional language. And next thing you know, they back at it. They, they doing the work. They right next to each other. And I'm like, man, I wish I could do that, And it's the understanding that the work is bigger than any resentment, any, small little what have you, that there's nothing that's, too great that can't be forgiven. The door is always open once one comes back and makes that change.
Yeah. So again, as you say, it's about self though, really, again, isn't it?
It's always about that.
And society has given us so many distractions to take us away from self. So many reasons to find excuses to not work on self. And as you said, you couldn't find one reason not to continue in initiation.
Yep. So, and these are the things that I'm telling you, those are my truths.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I go and I have to sit in front of, an answer to the goddess mind, how did I live my life, or wherever I go, how did I live my life? What was this like? That's when I sit there and I say, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. I can stand there and say all the things that I did, good, bad, or indifferent. That's a freedom that we get being here in this initiation and being a part of this community. Like, I don't have to lie about anything. I don't have to hide, when my butt's falling off, you know what I'm saying? Or like an old saying we say, when my slip is showing, my sister's going to say, your slip is showing, come here, fix your lapa, and that's the one thing that we have that a lot of times we don't have out here, People tend to want to laugh and think things are funny. I mean, we laugh at each other too, it's just the way we do it.
Not at each other for the fun of it, really. But you can laugh at each other,
Right.
And that's it. I suppose probably some people think that it's probably too rigid within the Earth Center, so that's not where they want to be. But we have fun amongst ourselves.
But the thing about it is, yes, we do have fun. We do have fun, but it's all the hero set life. You'll always have fun. You'll always have times when you have to put the fun aside and be serious, and that's just life still. But the topic today being the importance of knowing who we are. And we know, as I said, we know of all the distractions that have been put in our place, in our path, to take us from finding out who we are. What would you say is one of the reasons for society to distract us from self?
We all know it's a power game. It's all a game. You know what I'm saying? It's all about power. It has nothing to do with anything else. If I want to distract you because I want what you have, or I don't want you to succeed. Even when I remember the first time I read in the philosophy podium, and I can't figure out where it was, and it was talking about how you were even reading that, Set, he governs everything. Like this is somebody that knew you even before you were born.
Yes.
I'm like, that. He knew us even before we were born. You know what I'm saying? Because, we're trying to um, we're like Heru. So someone that's sitting there that's watched us before, you know what I'm saying, we were even thought of. You know what I'm saying? Before, you know, as my mama said, the twinkle in your daddy's eye. Before we were even that, there was something that watched us that just could govern. He has no boundaries. So this game is even being played on a bigger playing field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Than even this society and how it is. It's all about power and it's all about gaining something. You know? So it's a...
So how do we reclaim back that?
I think the way that we reclaim it is that, one, we have to start having the conversations. And you know, a lot of times with us in the EC, we do this EC language. You know what I'm saying? We talk in an EC language. And I think we need to just talk in a common language. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are things at your house? How are you? And that was the one thing that in the greetings when I was in, and I keep referring to Medita because I'm really missing it. But the thing that they would say in their general greeting, how are you? How's your mother? How's your father? How's your body? How's your spirit? How's this? How's that? In that one greeting, and the women would rattle it off, you know, and they would, and I can't remember how they would say it, but they would say it, and they would say the different greetings, and they would just ask that. And a lot of times, here in Chicago, I've never walked by so many people that don't even look you in the face. People don't even greet people anymore. I walk by and I say Ujjayi, you know, and people say, why do you say Ujjayi to them? Because it might spark a conversation. And that's what the one thing we got to do. We got to start having conversations with people. And that conversation is, you know, how are you? How's your family? You know, women need to start talking to other women and stop being in such a competition. I mean, that's a natural thing, women in competition. I mean, there's so many aspects to everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a societal thing that pits women against women. Traditionally, I don't really... Well, I've never grown up with seeing women against women, and I've grown up in a very large family community, and we've not really seen that. I think it's a societal thing because this is the divide and rule tactic, isn't it?
Yes.
So,
I mean, there's so many conversations. I mean, we just, like I said, we don't have the conversations. And the first thing is we got to take back the understanding that, you know, one, I'm a woman. I'm not a man. I'm not going to do what a man does. The other thing is this is a man. He's going to do what a man does. The other thing is that, you know, not only am I a woman, sometimes I'm a mother. Sometimes, you know, most of the time I'm a daughter. You know what I'm saying? I'm a sister. I'm an auntie.
Is
you
there
know, when we learn to really take the...
But is there any time when you're never any of those things?
You know?
Really?
I think the only time I'm not that is maybe when I'm sitting here in the bathtub by myself. You know, that for that split second, or when I'm praying, you know what I'm saying? No, because you know what? When I greet the ancestors, yeah, exactly. I guess I'm never none of those.
No.
I'm the daughter of us, you know. Yeah, you know. I guess I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm always those things.
This is it.
But this is where society
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Like in those special days,
Yeah.
like today's Mother's
Yeah.
Day, every day's Mother's Day.
Every day.
You know.
Okay. Because guess what? When I grew up, and I tell you, it was so funny because people would say, "Aren't you Rosie Pearl's daughter?" I was like, "Oh, dang!" And I try to beat the telephone home because I was in trouble, and I like trying to beat the telephone home, and they like, my mom, she called me Shelly. She'd be like, "Shelly," I'd be like, "Oh, there we go." You know, and she was like, Audrey told me. I was like, "Oh, yep." I remember. Oh man, it's nothing like having all eyes on you. I miss that. I miss that. That's the one thing that drew me to community, and to be able to, and I'm very grateful for the ladies in San Diego that helped me with my grandkids when I needed to work, and the elder that helped me with the kids when I needed to. This was really a community upbringing, because I was just me by myself, with two little people. And I'm telling you, when I was like, well, what do I do? And someone said, hold on, I got diapers. Someone said, let's try and put her on your back. I was like, I don't know how to do that. And someone else showed me, she showed me how to bathe the kids, and each one of them had spiritual baths. Each one of them has spiritual names, um, I'm just very grateful to community. And a lot of people don't have that.
No,
They don't.
Yeah.
Don't have that. I think we should have like communal dinners where we invite people from, and I know COVID is afoot, so that's kind of out. But we used to, in San Diego, we used to invite people. We'd have dinner and a movie, and we would watch different movies or whatever, and we'd have dinner and a movie, and sometimes it'd be a kid movie, and let me tell you, it'd be so funny. I'd be on the couch snoring by the time the movie was over. But it was just the best. It was the best energy I could sleep in, because it was all family, and the kids would be running around and they'd be doing things. And, I hope to establish those kind of things here in Chicago. We definitely have a lot of children here. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Nahibsa was going to ask you something.
And I hope I'm keeping on topic. I know I'm talking a whole lot.
No, this topic could stretch and go on for quite some time, But going back to something that you said about community and getting home before the phone call, I'm observing now in London, for instance, the schools, when schools are finished, the children on street, and there is absolutely no discipline. There's no discipline amongst them. There's no respect for others around them. There's no sense of community. Yeah.
The village can't
There's no one to answer to.
and grandparents really now the way that the structure is here. We can't afford people growing up in the area that they grow up in. They can't afford now to live in those areas. So that extended family support is not there anymore. So it's getting tougher and tougher. So people are making more serious decisions. That's probably having a lot of consequences in their lives.
I remember I made a choice to hang out with the gangs in California because they had a community. You know what I'm saying? They had a community, like they all wanted to, they hung out with each other. To an extent, they had each other's back. But there were certain rules to the game, And so I really lucked out because I only got my hands dirty just a tiny bit. You know what I'm saying? Because, for other women, it could be very, very, that lifestyle is not that great. You know what I'm saying? But it's the community. It's that wanting community. Yeah. Because what tends to happen is the parent is off working. You know what I'm saying? And as the parent is off working, there's no supervision.
Yeah.
So once again, society has that the distraction where you can't make enough to sustain yourself at living. So now if you got a 2-parent home, you got mom gone to work, you got dad gone to work, and you got what you consider the school is like a bona fide babysitter. You know what I'm saying? Indoctrinating your child with whatever they want to educate them. And they do a very good job. They do a very good job in educating your child in whatever they see fit to educate your child in. And then we sit here and we get upset when, you know, the child misbehaves or what have you. Well, where was you at? And I said that to myself because I was like, well, dang, I could see where, you know, like, I think nowadays we as human beings, we don't thrive, we're bred. We're bred a certain kind, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference between us and cattle?
Yeah, not a lot.
You feel me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got this one that's smart for this, and this one's a good wage earner. This one's a good this one's a good that. And it's all perpetuating the cognitive will of the power of this society.
Yeah.
Or wherever we are.
Economics,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. It's only when we take back what we want as far as a human and try to create I don't even know the word for it. Some substance in which we want our children to carry themselves. Does that become offensive to the law? Or does that become offensive to something? Or does that become offensive to this society?
Mm-hmm. It does, because you're taking a potential worker away from society.
Exactly. And so now you messing with my money.
That's right.
That's basically how they look. You messing with my money. You're messing with, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
the thing that's gonna.
Going back to even the transatlantic slavery. Many people say it was nothing to do with racism. It was all to do with economics. You know, and that is an argument, a different topic for another day still. But yeah, a lot of their intention is always financially based.
It still is.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it is. So for them to, they benefit when a child does not know who they are, what they've come here to do. Then it's society and the system that benefits, and not that child or the ancestral bloodline that it's come from.
Yeah. And they want to hold the space, like they want to make it so that why would you want to take this back? It's been so far away from the traditions. Why would you even want that back? And I've been so honored to be able to set my foot on home, what I would call home. My father said, "You're bringing the blood back," and I said, "Wow, wow, wow." So I was like, "Wow, I didn't even think of it like that."
What made you actually go into initiation? How were you introduced to the Earth Center? And
how I was introduced to the Earth Center was funny. I remember, like I said, my mom was a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm sorry, the kids is getting out of hand. I think I had to stop for 1 second. So my mom was a Jehovah's Witness, so I remember I always liked rituals. I liked tarot cards or whatever. So as I was an adult, I went and I had my first tarot card reading. And when I had my first tarot card reading, I was sitting there and I realized, I was like, this lady can only read me so far. When I realized she could only read me so far, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I was sitting there, and I never, despite all the help my grandfather did as far as educating me into cultures, my grandfather even had his own TV show.
Oh, wow.
And he would do like all kinds of cultural things. And so what ended up happening was he sat there and he would have me host the show. That's a whole nother other thing. But he would take me on all these different cultural things. And so what ended up happening was I sat there, and right down the street from our house in the neighborhood on Imperial in San Diego was a place in which it was nothing but Black businesses. So it was Juneteenth. And I didn't even know what Juneteenth was. And so someone invited me to a Juneteenth celebration. And I was like, wow. And I will never forget that to this day. I was sitting there, and at the time, I always wore red and black. I had on red lipstick, and I had a red and black scarf on, and I think I had black pants on or something. You know, I'm just all in red and black. And I remember the sky being so blue. And as I was walking down to Juneteenth, I sat there and I asked the question in the same place where I asked about my grandchildren's, if I could get them to their father. It's like a place in which you ask in a very quiet but humble place, and you're talking from an honest place. And I said, you know what, ancestors, I wonder what my people did. I'm about to start, because at the time I was getting ready to start studying Buddhism.
Okay.
And at the time I did Tao, I did Qigong, I did all kinds of stuff. And I thought, you know, well, I ain't Chinese. I ain't Asian. You know, I'm not this. I was like, well, okay, you know, this is fine. You know, okay, cool. I like the, you know, chanting, okay. And so I sat there and I said, well, you know, and I remember I looked at the sky and I said, oh my God, what do my people do? And next thing I know, I'm at Juneteenth. I walk all the way up and down the whole thing. I must have walked past the Earth Center booth twice. And as I'm getting ready to leave, this young boy stands right in front of me and he says, have you ever had a reading before? And I looked at him, I cut my eyes at him, and then I turned to look and I saw all these people in the Earth Center booth looking at me like, you know, I was like, what's wrong with them people? And, you know, he's talking to me and I'm looking at them like, oh, is this a setup? You know? And so I said, yeah, I just had a tarot card reading. He says, no, have you ever had an earth energy reading? And I said, And I said, what's that? And at that moment was the first time I had dropped my guard in a long time. And he said, by the way, we have classes, we have this, we have that. I said, well, I just paid $umpteen for a reading, so I don't have that money. And I don't know how much the reading was at that time. And I said, you know, I don't have that money right now. I said, but you give me 2 weeks, I could have it. And so for whatever reason, it resonated with every cell in my body. And he says, would you like to come to classes? You can sit in our classes. We have classes. They're here at the World Beat. Now, mind you, a week before I had a dream. Now, mind you, I've lived in San Diego all my life. And I have a dream about the World Beat Center. And I was like, what is this place with these Egyptian hieroglyphs on it? I was like, I had a dream I walked in there. And so I told my kids, I said, one day we're going to go in there. And this was 2 weeks before. Then I had the reading, and then I was at Juneteenth. So it was all like, I call it was a setup. So next thing I know, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Normally I don't get up early in the morning. And at the time, I used to wear makeup a lot. So I used to shave my eyebrows and draw them in, and always had makeup on and stuff like that. And I always had my hair done. And so at the time, I woke up just in time. I put my hair up under a hat, and it was crazy. And I go to the classes, and like I was telling somebody, I walked through the door, and when I walked through the door, it says, of the World Beat Center, it says, you know, this is not how things are. Don't leave, stay. And I thought it was the place talking to me. So I walked through there and I was like, oh, wow, this is neat. This place talks to you, you know, when you come through the doors. So like I said, I sat through all the classes, and the last class was student class, and it was outside. And in order to come in, you had to take your shoes off. Now, I was funny about my feet and grass and stuff like that. I took my shoes off, had no qualms about it, took my shoes off. He says, you can't have that hat in here. I took my hat off, and honey, my hair looked like somebody had stuck my finger in an electric socket, and I didn't even care. It was the first time. I never cared about what the outside of me looked like. I was at a place getting fed. And when my grandfather had passed away, I had this yearning that there was something I needed to do for him. I needed to do something for him. I would wake up every morning. And then one of the next classes that I sat in on was what happens when a person dies. And I remember sitting in that class, and I was in tears. And I think at that time, and this is a little more than I probably should be revealing, I have a thing where if I ask all the questions before I'm about to sign up for anything. So one of the questions was, I didn't have good relationships with men, and I was thinking about being in a relationship with a woman. Never had been in one. But I was like, well, they the safest bet. They pay for everything. I'm cool, you know. So I asked him, like, that day when he told me about the class about what was it? It was a class regarding the death, what to do. I was in tears, and I said, I wiped my eyes. I said, I got one more question for you. How y'all feel about same-sex relationships? He says, we got a commandment for that. I said, oh. I was like, okay. So I, quickly broke it off with, whatever and all that kind of stuff. And, and then after that, I have been going since.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I had this miraculous, like I didn't even know about the Earth, and I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
Nothing until that day when, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Makaru says that if you are here, it's not by any accident.
That's right.
And I was like, you know what? And before I used to ask the question, why me? Why me? And then I remember someone said, why not you? And I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
Well, they get out of that,
Yeah.
It's like they're saying it, we're always waiting for the one to come to make changes, but we are the one to make those changes, really, isn't it?
And then I like when they say, like, my life is not my own. I like to think I'm doing something. Every now and then I'll get a good chuckle. You thought you was doing that, huh? Okay.
I get the impression that your grandfather is very pleased with you.
I hope so. I just, he gave me so when there was a time when I had lost myself and I was on drugs, and he never, and me and my dad talked about this last night. I said, Daddy, he never like made me feel less than. He never, nothing. He said, when you gonna stop using that SHIT? And I said, I don't know. He said, fair enough. Let me know when you do. That was it. That was it. I said, Papa, I need to buy this car. He said, I'll buy it for you. No problem. I'll help you get it. Help me get a car. He said, nah, you can't sell none of that stuff in it. I was like, oh. It was like he knew the right thing that would sit there. And I remember when I first came into this and I said, you know what, Makaru, I just want to sit at my grandfather's feet and place my head in his lap and just cry sometimes. And, I've gotten that on an energetic level as well as on the level of being able to have that relationship that I have with my father now. It's, this is not, like I can't promise everybody's going to get this. Now, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that this is my experience.
That's right.
In the changes that I've made, or the changes they made within me,
Well, Hatsani, I'm sorry to say we've got to wrap up the show. It's been
No
such
problem,
fun
no problem. And
speaking with you.
I hope I touched on it. And the one thing I can say about wanting to get to know yourself, it's not until you do that inside work do you get to know who you actually are. And I think it's not until you're at the end of that time are you able to say that maybe you've kind of achieved some of the things that you come to look forward to do, the work that you needed to do. It's not until then that we get to see, okay, you know what? I did this. Now, I didn't get to finish this. I'll be back to finish it. You know.
We know what we should do. Kind of go straight in the middle, and at the end we kind of think, well, we know we should have done that. We know what we didn't do.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so it is what it is, though. At least we're still on
Yes,
that
it
path,
is.
really trying to face our challenges, really, isn't it?
And what a blessing. You guys have a platform. I am so grateful for allowing me to get outside of myself, and to be able to share my experience in what my truth is. It ain't pretty, but I tell you,
No, but
it's how it is.
But it's the truth, and
It's
it's
how the world
recognition
is.
that other people, it's not late for anybody, really. We're all coming from somewhere where we don't want to be. So
Yeah.
this is why it's so important, really, to have guests like you on the show, because there's chance for everybody out there to redeem themselves.
Oh yeah. I would have never thought. I always was told I couldn't. I'm a light-skinned black woman, so I was never black enough to hang out with the other chocolate women. I was never black enough. I was never white enough to be. I was good to look at when I worked in a business office. When I worked at a bank, I could sound very, Caucasian or whatever you want to call it. I sound white. When I talked on the phone, I had good customer service. But when it came to promoting and stuff like that, I found that I wasn't, good enough. So it was very hard when I could come to a place where I didn't have to be good enough. I only had to adhere to certain principles. And that's what made me good enough. As long as I kept those principles. Yeah.
Yeah,
And to know
definitely.
that those people around me upheld the same principles. And even if they didn't, I knew what I was supposed to do. Yeah. Yeah.
So energizing having you on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you taking up our offer, our invite.
You know what? Let me tell you, my son, he was like, "Who you got for me?" I said, "Hold up, let me think." He was like, "Well," he's like, "Oh, it sounds like it's you." I said, I started choking. You should have seen me before this show. I must have went to use the bathroom about 3 or 4 times. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I think they're going, look, the phone ain't working right. No, you sure didn't drop not once. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah, very inspirational.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful story, really, journey, really, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it is. And
as well as I'm pretty sure yours is as well. Those are the things that those are the conversations we need to be having with people.
Yeah.
I love hearing the stories about the Macaroon when he traveled, when they tried to jack him, all those different things that we hear. And it was like, wow, the way he carried himself, those are his truths. And the things that, we hear that might be otherwise, whatever. They're all, you know what? That means that, everyone's lived a life.
yes.
And that's the whole thing. At any given day, the only thing I can rise myself to is being human. That's any given. I'm not, I hopefully, because sometimes my characteristics, boy, it be a barbaric thought up in that mug every now and then, boy.
Wow.
I'll be like, down, boy. Woo.
Yeah.
Keep it together.
Yeah, but you name me one person who doesn't go through that, So
okay,
it's definitely a human thing, and All we can do is constantly keep trying, striving for the higher standards.
Yep.
So
Because as she said though, we said Set was there with
set
all the
was there
entrapment.
before.
So and
Yeah.
he was there before we came. So he knows each and all of us really like our weaknesses and our strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one size fit all. So what you're gonna be your challenge is gonna be something else for someone else. So yeah, we're all on that
And then
path.
guess what? As soon as we think we done mastered it, guess what? He's gonna show it. He's gonna make it show up,
Yeah,
look different, taste different, and it's gonna be. And we like, oh my God, how did that get me?
yeah,
And the only thing we can do is learn from it.
yeah, definitely.
Because it's
Exactly.
gonna change. It's gonna change. And when it changes, that's the adaptability that we need to learn how to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
Definitely.
where those principles come in. It's like, okay, you know what? Whoop, oh. And then the thing about it is, a lot of times is we don't know what any given person is going through.
No.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like somebody might snap at us, and you be like, "Hey, check this out. Why you talking to me like that?" And they don't even know that they're talking to you like that because their mind is somewhere else.
That's right.
But I was closed. A closed mouth don't get fed. Are you okay? Something wrong? No, okay. You kind of snapped at me there for a minute. I just want to make sure you're all right. Okay, all right. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So life is full of lessons and blessings, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Hatani will say Duawu Isa
Nini,
and
Neta do it for both of y'all for, oh, man, this was awesome. This was
likewise,
awesome.
likewise to yourself,
And
likewise.
it'd be a pleasure to have you back some later day on
Yeah,
the show again.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I know I can talk, trick no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get you on
So,
this
yeah.
side. We'll get you on this side of the studio where you can do the presenting.
You know what? And I would love that because the music y'all play is like, oh, I was in heaven.
Okay.
I was like, man, I was like, where did you get that? That's real reggae. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so
Okay.
we can. I don't know how you guys want to do it.
Well, say Netedua and
Method. Method.
Iriru.
Yeah. Need to do any review.
Itty hitter.
Iriru.
Itty hitter.
And on that note, we're gonna.
I've just
you're
got
gonna
to. I'm
you-
just
you-
gonna.
announcements.
Yeah, I've just got to just let everyone know, for those who don't know, who are not following us on social media, that this Saturday, the 26th of February, the London Temple, we have a lecture entitled "What's Love Got to Do with It?" So it's find us on social media, the Earth Centre of UK, Facebook and Instagram, and all the details are there. Alternatively, enquiries-uk at theearthcentre.org is the email address to contact us. And yeah, and we'll be back next week. So I'm just going to end this with a very small summarization or from the Sunnyside magazine, an article, "The Enemy Within" by Kazabez Mahakma. This is just a very short paragraph to end the show. "We are writing our own history. Everything we do, even our thoughts, cannot be undone. They will echo out into the universe and affect everything. We will be held accountable for our history on our day of judgment. For the human being concerned with their future, protecting our history becomes more important than satisfying our emotions and desires." So yeah, we are every day, every second of the day, we are writing our history and we will be held accountable for it. So it's very important to know thyself, to strive to perfect thyself. And as I said, the Earth Centre and Nebnaba Lamusa Moradenebig has provided us, gifted us, blessed us with the tools from the ancestors to help us on our uphill journeys. So until next time we shall meet, we'll say Iriru. Dua for listening, Dua to Nep Nabala Musa, to Bless Radio, Naba Irita, and our ancestors, the divine world, and for everyone for listening.
To all our attorneys and our teachers who have kind of given their time really to pass on what was given to them.
Very own
Say dua for them as well.
Stop it. Okay, Iriru.
a revolution, my own revolution.
Start.
I need a revolution, my own revolution, my very own revolution. I need a revolution, my own revolution, my personal revolution. Heartbreak is so hard to take, and I lay down in the bed that I made, crying, crying, tears of change, fighting, fighting every day. There must be a better way. I need a revolution, my own revolution, my personal revolution. Baby, I need a revolution, my own revolution, my personal revolution. Hey, I don't like the hypocrisy. Is this democracy? There is no voice for me in your philosophy, tainted theology. Oh, can you save me? Who can save me? Who can save me? Revolution. Who got the power? I do. Who got the say? I do. Yeah. Who got the play? I do. I will find a way. Who got the power? I do. Yeah. Who got the say? I do. Yeah. Who got the play? I do. I will find a way. 'Cause heartbreak is so hard to take, and then I lay down in the bed that I make, crying, crying, tears of change. I'm fighting, fighting every day. I know there must be a better way. So I need a revolution, my own revolution, my personal revolution. Hey, I need a revolution, my own revolution, a personal revolution. Who got the power? I do. Who got to say? I do. Who got to play? I do. I will find a way. Who got the power? I do. Say. Who got to say? I do. Yeah. Who got to play? I do. I will find a way. I will find a way. my very own revolution, a personal revolution.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet Nebnabala Musa Morodinabig, the doggone priest, Mahir, the truth teller, Bisinabasa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Mahir, Mahir, Mahir. Come from far away, from far away, from far away, prophet from far away, prophet Naba, far away, Musa, far away, from far away, prophet from far away, prophet Naba, from far away, from far away, from far away, prophet from far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lived by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lived by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock their treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of